Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're cracking open a massive, totally myth-busting study by Steady Demand. They looked at exactly how AI actually recommends local businesses, analyzing a whopping 14,000 citations. Let's get right into it.
So if you've been sitting there panicking, thinking AI just completely killed traditional search for your local business, take a breath. I want us to look at the hard data of what really happens when someone types in something like best plumber near me. For the longest time, local SEO was, well, kind of predictable. But generative AI engines like Gemini and ChatGPT, they've thrown a massive wrench into the gears. There's been so much guesswork, so much panic out there, but today, we're stripping away all that anxiety and just looking strictly at the numbers.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the AI search myth, your website still rules, the power of community, the grounding drift problem, Gemini versus ChatGPT, and finally, wrap it up with the new AI playbook. All right, part one, the AI search myth, setting the baseline. We're starting off by looking at the sheer, unprecedented scale of this research data set and tackling a huge assumption right out of the gate. To really get to the bottom of this, the researchers at Steady Demand didn't mess around. They analyzed over 14,000 local AI citations across 50 different US metros and 10 local service categories. Basically, they asked Gemini questions like, best plumber near me, almost 1,500 times. They logged every single real source the AI grounded its answers in, extracted the actual businesses it recommended, and then checked their real Google ratings. This wasn't just some tiny sample size. It's a definitive, under-the-hood look at the actual mechanics of AI recommendations. And man, this perfectly illustrates our first busted myth. AI is not inventing a stricter quality filter. You might assume that because 90% of AI recommended businesses have 4.5 stars or higher, the AI is somehow handpicking this unparalleled excellence. But check out the baseline. The average star rating for an AI recommended business is 4.75 stars. Pretty good, right? Well, a plain old Google local search for those exact same metros and verticals averages 4.84 stars. So sure, dropping under 4.0 stars is definitely a ceiling on your visibility, but don't go crediting the AI for a quality bar that was already firmly established by traditional local search. Moving on to part two, your website still rules. Yeah, the death of the website has been greatly exaggerated. Let's tackle this super common assumption that AI engines just relay big directory listings and completely skip over individual company sites. Just think about the absolute dominance of the humble business website for a second. It's wild. The data shows your own website commands a staggering 60% of all AI citations. Let that sink in. It outright beats every directory, forum, and review platform combined. This means Gemini's grounding tool is actively digging up and citing individual company pages, not just blindly relaying whatever happens to rank on aggregator sites. So if you're a local business with a thin, generic website, you are at a massive disadvantage here. As SEO expert Marie Haynes points out, this basically proves the fundamentals haven't really changed. Your on-site content, having clear service pages, a good crawlable site structure, that stuff is still doing the real heavy lifting. And honestly, this is incredibly empowering. It means the one asset you actually own and control is still the place the AI goes to most often to back up what it's saying. All right, section 3, the power of community. The universal playbook is dead. The crucial point we need to make here is that while your website is your foundation, you absolutely cannot rely on a generic one-size-fits-all directory strategy for your off-site presence anymore. This one blew my mind. A single forum built entirely on unstructured everyday conversation outright beats the entire multi-billion-dollar local service directory category. I'm talking about Reddit. It captures 13.7% of citations. Compare that to just 10.3% from massive heavyweights like Angie, Thumbtack, and HomeAdvisor combined. The old advice of just get listed on the big directories is actively competing with, and honestly frequently losing to, real, authentic community discussions. Whether you show up in real conversations and how you show up is a massive visibility channel in its own right now. Let's break this down across different industries because the source mix swings incredibly hard depending on what the user is actually searching for. Take a personal injury lawyer, for example. They shouldn't waste a single second trying to force a presence on Reddit. Their citations come almost entirely from their own site and legal-specific directories like Superlawyers or Justia. On the flip side, a dentist ignoring platforms like ZocDoc and HealthGrades is literally missing the top sources for their entire category. And auto repair? It is the single most Reddit-dependent vertical they measured. All of this proves you absolutely need a highly vertical-specific approach. Following a generic checklist is just going to waste your time and money.
Okay, Section 4, the grounding drift problem. This brings us to the absolute intellectual core of this explainer, and honestly, a finding that completely flips how we measure success on its head.
It's called grounding drift. Listen to this. If you ask Gemini the exact same query, word for word, twice in a row, the cited sources only match about 40% of the time. The researchers tested this by feeding the exact same text back to back with zero wording changes at all. The model's own underlying search terms barely even overlapped from call to call, and the resulting domains it cited disagreed heavily. And it doesn't even matter what time of day you ask. The AI is essentially making a fresh, random, stochastic decision about how to search every single time you prompt it.
The data on this is an absolute mic drop. Now, you might naturally be a little skeptical and think, well, local search is just noisy, maybe this isn't strictly an AI problem. But the researchers ran a direct control test to check exactly that. When you ask Google's traditional local pack the same query, it repeats its top listing roughly 90% of the time. Super stable, right? But when you ask Gemini for a generated recommendation on those exact same queries, it only repeats its recommendation about 7% of the time. 7. The instability is coming directly from how the AI answer engine actually generates its response.
So you have to think of AI not as a strict, reliable filing cabinet, but more like a hyperactive researcher who constantly changes their mind depending on the exact second you ask them a question. As Brett Tabb keynotes, you really have to think of this as a shifting distribution. A single query snapshot, like searching, "Am I cited for best plumber near me?" just one time on a Tuesday, is a completely unreliable read on your AI visibility. You just can't over-index on one lucky or unlucky result.
Which brings us to Section 5, Gemini versus ChatGPT, a tale of two bots. If you thought grounding drift inside a single AI was wild, just wait until we pit two completely different AI engines against each other using the exact same terms. It turns out, these two engines lean on almost opposite kinds of sources. Gemini's single biggest citation category is the business's own website, coming in at nearly 60%. But ChatGPT, it only cites the business website about 16% of the time. Instead, ChatGPT leans heavily towards social forums, community discussions, and general business directories. It's like they're living in two different worlds. In fact, out of nearly 1,500 identical queries run through both engines for a direct apples-to-apples comparison, Gemini and ChatGPT named the exact same top recommended business only 4.2% of the time. 4.2. Furthermore, on average, only 8% of the actual domains they cited overlapped. For a personal injury lawyer query, the cited domains overlapped just 0.5% of the time. They functionally never use the same sources. As Dustin Stout elegantly puts it, optimizing for AI visibility as a single unified target is just a complete illusion. A citation strategy built perfectly around Gemini's preferences might do absolutely zero for your ChatGPT visibility, and vice versa. The real strategy here isn't about gaming a specific algorithm. It's about making sure your business shows up cleanly, consistently, and authentically absolutely everywhere an AI model might pull from. Okay, finally, Section 6, the new AI playbook. We've navigated all the chaos, so what is the actual, actionable playbook for your local business to thrive in this totally unpredictable landscape? All right, here are your screenshotable takeaways from all this massive data. First, whatever you do, don't abandon your on-site fundamentals. Clear service pages and real, helpful content keep you in control. Second, start treating community reputation like Reddit as a primary channel, not just a happy accident. Third, audit what actually gets cited in your specific vertical. Find your niche directories and regional certifications, because those national platforms are really just the bare minimum floor. Fourth, once you've hit a solid 4.0 or higher rating, don't assume chasing endless 5-star reviews is going to buy you extra AI visibility. And finally, expect grounding drift. You absolutely have to measure this as a distribution over time, not a one-off search. I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder today. Algorithmic volatility is just the new normal. In a world where AI randomly samples the web to judge you, you simply cannot rely on just one platform or one directory anymore. So, is your business's digital footprint broad enough and authentic enough to be ready for the spotlight no matter where the AI decides to look tomorrow? Thank you so much for joining us on this explainer, and we will see you next time.